Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is October 7th, 2019. Hope everyone's having a good Monday thus far. We got a little bit of space weather news to pass along, as well as some Grand Solar Minimum news. Let's go to our space weather section here at the grandsolarminimum.com. Our solar wind speeds are finally below the 400 mark. It's sitting at 398. Density is also low. And we haven't had much of a KP indice as of the last 28 or 24 to 48 hours as well. So levels are staying at 2 at the most. And this is the only thing I really wanted to show you guys on the space weather, since nothing much has really changed since the morning report. And let's zoom in a little bit. As you can see, this is not a sunspot. But this coronal hole in the southern region behind it is what we're also watching here in the next several days, where it could produce some minor geomagnetic activity, and I'm talking increased solar wind speeds. That's about it as far as that goes. As far as the big picture, what we got coming up, well, we do have another coronal hole that's on the equatorial region. That's just beyond the eastern limb. Also, I also want to point out there is an active region in the negative 180 where that coronal hole is. I want to point out that bright spot, that active region, has decreased since it started heading towards the eastern limb. So, looking like we're going to go back to that blank sun for quite some time here, with another coronal hole moving around the eastern limb, probably within the next 3 to 4 days. And then count on another 7 days before we see any kind of Earth-facing situation. So still quite a few days away, but no sunspots to speak of. By the way, that's 4 days in a row without sunspots for us, giving us a total of 202 days in 2019 without sunspots. All right, let's take a look at our TSI reading. This is for September 29th, 2019. TSI came in at 1360.6139. So not much change whatsoever recently with the TSI. It's almost leveling out. There's not as much dips and peaks going on at this time. The sun is just kind of leveling off right now. All right, let's get back over to the grandsolarminimum.com, our website, where we post all the links to all the articles that we discussed today. And there's a couple I'm just going to kind of, touch base with, and then there's one particularly that I really want to go over, because I feel like there's a lot of people who don't understand what the grand solar minimum means to you. So we'll go over that here in a minute. Strong puff at Shivalu volcano, 38,000 feet. Now, we reported on this last week, and we talked about an ash plume that went 30,000 feet. In the last report we had on this particular volcano, we had read that we were looking at anywhere from 34,000 feet to 40,000 feet on the next eruption. And sure enough, this was just a few days ago. October 6th, we had an eruption that injected small amount of volcanic ash up to 38,000 feet above sea level. The ash cloud drifted to the northeast of the volcano, was located about 267 miles northeast at 326 UTC. Ash explosions up to 32,000 and 49,000 feet could occur anytime. Ongoing activity now. So when we reported on this eruption last week, they were saying between 30 and 40,000 feet were possible. Now we're looking at a possibility of up to 50,000 feet ash plume. So scientists are thinking that we're not done with these eruptions here at Shivalu. Eruptions such as this is nothing special for Shivalu. Most volcanic ash plume was obscured by meteorological cloud. Luckily, this one just a few days ago wasn't. The last notable Shivalu took place 2440 at October 1st. The explosion produced an ash column of 34,000 feet, and that was the one we reported on last week. So 2 weeks in a row, within 6 days of each other, we've had about a total of 70,000 feet of ash plume. Now, each event was 34,000 feet, just about. So 34,000 on the first one, 38,000 on the second one. So we're not quite yet looking at ash plumes that will be affecting climate and weather. And remember, folks, you've got to be around 55,000 feet for it to start affecting climate. So anything 60, 70, 80,000 feet definitely is going to have an impact on the local and regional climate. Now, you want to talk about volcano eruptions that affect the global climate, you're going to have to get one of these super volcanoes that would go anywhere from 100 to 120,000 feet into the stratosphere. Now, Mount Tambora blew up in 1815, which followed by the Year Without a Summer in the Northeast. And that eruption was 120,000 feet into the atmosphere. So just giving you an idea of what we need to see before we have any kind of ice age effect on our planet. And right now, we are at the very beginning of the grand solar minimum. And when you're in the beginning like this, it is a very long process, but conditions continue to prove on a daily basis that we are entering the beginning of a grand solar minimum. We're not even in the peak yet. So for all of you folks out there who may not think this is much of notice of anything, just hold on to your hats. It's only the beginning. And if we're seeing this kind of activity in the tip of the iceberg, I can't imagine where we're going to be at 2028, 2030, or 2030, I should say, not 2030. That's a very weird year, actually. So anyway, I think there's a lot of confusion out there on grand solar minimum. A lot of people seem to believe that this is just going to be snap your fingers over the night, boom, you're cold the next day. Now, we already know cooling takes place decadal. So, just an example, 34,000, 38,000 is impressive, but it's nothing on the scale that's going to affect any kind of climate. And here's some science for you guys. Potential role of low solar activity this winter as the minimum deepens and a wide-ranging impacts of increasing cosmic rays. This one is for my naysayers out there, the ones who think they can debunk the grand solar minimum. Okay, potential role of low solar activity. And the reason why I'm bringing this article, I'm going to read this every bit because this is exactly where I stand with grand solar minimum and solar activity correlating with climate. And I hope after this article that maybe some of you will understand that this topic has got a lot more to do with it than just the mini ice age. So, and a lot of people don't understand that. But here we go. The sun is blinking again for the 202nd day of 2019. The overview of this article: the sun continues to be very quiet, and it has been without sunspots for over 200 days during 2019, or 72% of the time, which is the highest percentage since 2009. And we're not even technically in the bottom of this minimum yet. We have entered into a solar minimum phase of the solar cycle, and the sunspots suggest that this could turn out to be the deepest of our past century. Low solar activity has been well correlated with atmospheric phenomena known as high latitude blocking, and this could play an important role in the upcoming winter season, especially across the eastern U.S. In addition, one of the natural impacts of decreasing solar activity is the weakening ambient solar wind and its magnetic field, which in turn allows more cosmic rays to penetrate the solar system. So, not just the Earth, but the magnetic field of the sun protects the entire solar system. So if our magnetic field is weak on Earth as it is on the sun, then the entire solar system is also weak, which allows more particles and cosmic rays, galactic cosmic rays, to travel through our solar system. In other words, when you look at images on Soho and you see the little white specks where it looks like it's snowing, Those are highly charged particles, galactic cosmic dust, things that aren't usually in our solar system during solar maximum, and especially during grand solar minimums. You will see these become more prevalent. It's science. The weaker the magnetic field of the sun, the more particles that will enter into our solar system. So not just Earth, but we are going through galactic cosmic rays. Let's continue to read here. Solar cycle 24 was the weakest sunspot cycle with the fewest sunspots since cycle 14, peaked in 1906. Solar cycle 24 continued a recent trend of weakening solar cycles, which began with solar cycle 21 that peaked around 1980. The sun is blank again today for the 202nd day this year. The last time the sun was spotless in a given year, percentage basis, was on 2009, the last solar minimum, when 71% of the days went without visible sunspots. The last solar minimum actually reached in 2008, when an astounding 73% of the year featured a spotless sun. The most spotless days in a year given is 1913, and this year has a chance to match or exceed the quietest years in more than a century. Low solar activity will be well correlated with abnormally high geopotential height anomalies with 500 millibars over latitude regions such as Greenland and Iceland, talking about Greenland blocks, which cause a huge disruption in the jet stream. Here we go. Low solar activity and high latitude blocking. Any snow lover and weather enthusiast knows that living on I-95 corridor, it takes many ingredients to fall into place for a snowstorm actually to take place, especially in the urban areas of DC, Philly, New York City, and Boston. One requirement for accumulating snow is, of course, cold air near below freezing. But it can be little more complicated than that. It is one thing to have cold air around at the beginning of a potential storm, but the best chance of significant snow comes when there is a sustained cold air. Otherwise, you could end up with a snow changing to rain type event, especially in big cities and areas closer to the coast. One of the ways to sustain cold air mass is mid-Atlantic and northeast US to have high latitude blocking. And that type of weather phenomenon is well correlated with low solar activity. So high latitude blocking is, a lot of times you guys have heard this during the winter season, the Greenland block, which causes like a traffic jam in the jet stream, and literally does just that. It blocks. It holds weather systems up for a bit of time. And this is where that sustained cold air comes in play, is from these high latitude blocking. Now, high latitude blocking during the winter season is characterized by persistent high pressure in the northern latitude areas such as Greenland, northeastern Canada, and Iceland. If you look back at years with low solar activity, the upper geopotential height anomaly pattern is dominated by high pressure over these high latitude regions during the winter season, December through February. Without this type of blocking pattern in the upper atmosphere, it is most difficult to get sustained cold air masses into the U.S., the eastern U.S., during the winter seasons. Now, where am I going with this? How do these high latitude blocking events happen? And how is it that the jet stream just gets all wonky and crazy? Well, a lot of it has to do with the low solar wind, which is a correlation here with the high latitude blocking. Low solar wind means a weaker jet stream. The faster the solar winds, the tighter the jet stream becomes, and there's a lot less up and down and dipping. So we know during solar minimums, we have lower solar wind affecting us for the majority of the time, unless we're going through a coronal hole solar wind stream, which happens about, once every 10 days or so. In addition to the increased chance of sustained cold air during low solar activity years, high latitude blocking in the upper atmosphere tends to slow down the movement and departure of storms. Like I said earlier, this effect on the jet stream almost makes it, the storms will come in and all of a sudden it's like a traffic jam. It holds things up. It stalls them out. It allows the storm to make a bigger impact. Now, if it was just a regular jet stream pattern, the storm would be in and out, and that would be called a clipper. But in this case, with the high latitude blocking, the dip in the jet stream, also allowing these storms to sit up over a certain area over a period of time and become worse than what they actually are. Let's continue to read on. Here's cosmic rays on Earth since 1964. This is a very useful chart here. And you're saying to yourself, well, what does this have to do with anything? Well, cosmic rays is part of the reason why we see so many cloud coverage and also heavy precipitation. Without particles in the atmosphere, you don't have raindrops, you don't have snowflakes. And cosmic rays are basically like magnets for particles, okay? So imagine a rain of water vapor attaching itself to a particle, except when it attaches itself to something like a cosmic ray that's seeded with other particles in the atmosphere, it's almost like a super magnet where more particles, more vapor come together in that one drop than usual without the cosmic ray influx. Low solar activity in cosmic rays. Galactic cosmic rays are high energy particles originating from outside the solar system that can impact Earth's atmosphere. Our first line of defense from cosmic rays comes from the sun and its magnetic field and the solar wind combine to create a shield that fends off cosmic rays attempting to enter the solar system. The shielding action of the sun is the strongest during solar maximum and weakest during solar minimum, with weakest magnetic field and solar wind. The intensity of cosmic rays varies naturally during the typical 11-year cycle, about 15% variation because there's changes in strength of solar wind. Evidence of increase of stratospheric radiation. One way to monitor cosmic radiation penetration in the Earth's atmosphere is to measure stratospheric radiation over an extended period of time. SPACEWEATHER.com has led the effort for nearly 4 years to monitor radiation levels in the stratosphere over California with frequent high-altitude helium balloon flights. These balloons contain sensors which detect X-rays and gamma rays in the energy range. All right. Reading on about cosmic rays and radiation during the last solar minimum in 2009, radiation peppering Earth from deep space reached a 50-year high at levels never seen during the satellite era. And we're getting very close to those same levels, and a new record is certainly on the table in the near future. And a lot of that comes from what they're showing right now on SPACEWEATHER.com, this chart right here. As you can see, we move from, this is current, this is where we are now, this was the last minimum, 0809. And I want you guys to pay close attention that not all minimums max out at peak cosmic rays. As you can see here, some areas dip further, which means the further, less cosmic rays, the stronger the magnetic field. Look at this. And then all of a sudden, we don't see that. So we have a steady decline. All right. And now we are back on the up. So this chart right here, to me, if I'm following a pattern where this is your maximum, this is your maximum, this is your maximum, this is a maximum, and that is a maximum. So we had 3 maximums get super strong here. Remember, the lower they are, the stronger the magnetic field and the less cosmic rays entering Earth. The weaker the magnetic field, the more cosmic rays. So look at this. We're touching top levels here just in the last 20 years. So another indication that we are heading into a grand solar minimum, not just some regular solar minimum. Low solar activity in cosmic rays. Galactic cosmic rays are high energy particles. I think I just read that. Consequences of increasing cosmic rays. Cloud coverage and climate. The correlation between cosmic rays and cloud cover over solar cycle was first reported by Svensmark in 1997. A more recent study by Svensmark published in August of 16 issue of Journal of Geophysical Research, Space Physics continues to support the idea of an important connection between cosmic rays and clouds. In this publication, the authors found that the observed variation of 3 to 4% of the global cloud coverage during the recent solar cycle is strongly correlated with cosmic ray flux. This article goes on to talk about the increase of cosmic radiation for air travelers. And then finally here we have the possibility for lightning trigger. That's not a possibility. Your speculation is correct. Lots of papers that are showing proof that the shower of electrons would collide into still more air molecules, generating more electrons. All in all, cosmic rays could each set off an avalanche of electrons and triggering lightning. And we saw a lot more lightning strikes in 2019 so far, people getting killed by lightning strikes. Thankfully, there was a footage that we caught AccuWeather.com where a man was struck by lightning while walking his dogs. He did not die. He was able to be saved. Thankfully, someone was there to do CPR immediately. But how many times have we seen that this year where lightning strikes are happening a lot more frequently than usual? Here's the final thoughts of this person's paper here. While the frequency of solar storm activity generally lessens during the periods of low solar activity, there's actually some evidence that suggests the severity does not diminish. In fact, the most famous solar storm of all, now known as the Carrington event, took place in 1859, an overall weak solar cycle, number 10. In addition, the other solar activity, such as coronal holes that unleash streams of solar material out into space, can amplify the auroras at the Earth's poles. The bottom line, a lack of sunspots does not mean the sun's activity stops altogether, and it needs to be constantly monitored even during periods of blank sun. Meteorologist Paul Dorian, Perspecta Inc. Very good write-up. And look, if you can't comprehend what this is talking about, I'm sorry. There's no easy way to explain to you the variables in a grand solar minimum. When I look at this chart here, I see patterns of things increasing, and then I see a decline. Yeah, we had that freak little cycle right here. 1970, 1975, into 78. Now, I want to point out too, guys, that this winter right here, all right, this is not part of the cycle. So yeah, sometimes there are things that happen that breaks it, but we've never seen it go from record low to record high in a cycle where it's not supposed to. So very weak cycle number 20. And folks are comparing, if you look where we have the peak at, it is lower. All right, it is lower. And a lot of folks are trying to tell us how cold it's going to get this winter. And they're comparing this winter right here where we are in the charts to this one back here in 20, going into 21. We've never been alive to see this kind of decline, folks. Grand solar minimums happen every 206 years, not every 11 years. There's a complete difference. And as you can see here on the declining scale of sunspots, also means weaker magnetic field. How do I know that? Because it takes a weaker magnetic field from the sun to produce lower amounts of sunspots. Also, we now know that there is material underneath the corona that builds up every 11 years. And at solar maximum, that is when sunspots are hurled through the corona. But we all know what goes up must come down. Right now, we are watching this solar cycle head completely down. It's trending down. 26 is trending down as well before it starts seeing some normalcy, maybe in 28 and 29, before it starts to go back up again. So in other words, we could see what we saw solar cycle 18 and 19 by late 20s, 2060, 2070, 2080, somewhere in that area will we see the return of normal sunspots like we saw in solar cycle 18 and 19. So yeah, a lot of us aren't going to be here for that normal stuff. And most of us are here now for a very low period of solar activity that's coming up. And the lower the activity, the more intense cosmic rays become, and the more intense the cloud coverage and the weather and the crop loss and everything that comes around. Again, folks, this doesn't happen overnight. Think about these conditions happening over a period of time. And think about solar cycle 25. They're predicting the peak of the sunspots to be right here compared to solar cycle 24. They're comparing it to be right around this area right here. So not even, just about half of the solar cycle 24 is what is expected in solar cycle 25. And we saw some pretty gnarly weather in solar cycle 24. I can't imagine what kind of impact the cosmic rays are going to have on our atmosphere and our weather when we get to the maximum of 25, and it's not even considered a maximum. I'd be shocked if we had a maximum period where we didn't see a spotless day. I still believe spotless days will be relevant during our maximum cycle. So just putting it out there, folks. From what I've been taught, from what I've read, and how each cycle, 25, 26, 27, is going to continue to get weaker, our maximum sunspot counts are not going to be the same as what we've seen in solar cycle 21, 22, and 23. 24 is abnormally low as well. But this solar cycle, we will see that to come to fruition. And the only reason why I'm so confident about what's going to happen in 25 is because Valentina Zarkova predicted solar cycle 24, and it came true. Her predictions happened in solar cycle 24. All of it. I guess we'll just have to keep watching for the next 10 years, huh? But I think if you're struggling with understanding what grand solar minimum means, this is a great starting point right here, just the basics. There's nothing in here about glaciation or ice age or nothing like that. Again, there's other variables that have to take place for ice age and glaciation to happen. It's all about cycles and where we're at in the cycles. We're beginning a Milankovitch cycle. That's a 100,000-year cycle, by the way. So just giving you perspective of how long these things take to form. It's not overnight. All we can do is report on this stuff and make sure people are aware so they're prepared as well. That's the most important part. All right, so let's move on to this monster typhoon here. Hagibis may become the strongest storm on Earth. We heard that about Dorian. Is that possible? Half a world away from the Caribbean, which is still reeling from the impact and devastation of Dorian last month, forecasters are eyeing a storm in the northern Pacific that say it has the potential to become the strongest on the planet for 2019. Hagibis rapidly intensified into a typhoon strength over the weekend, picking up super typhoon status on Monday, which it is equivalent to a Cat 4 hurricane with winds close to 250 kilometers per hour. The monster storm is forecast to strengthen even further, likely making it the strongest storm of the year and even rivaling one of the most extreme typhoons on record based on its rapid intensification. Weather Network meteorologist Tyler Hamilton says Dorian was the strongest storm on Earth so far this year with a pressure of 910 millibars. As of Monday evening local time, Super Typhoon Hagibis was passing through the northern Marianas Islands, with forecasters eyeing potential track towards Japan by next weekend. The storm is set to bring strong winds, torrential rainfall, and in the northern Marianas, a U.S. territory, though through late Tuesday. Flash flooding and high surf are also likely in Guam as the center of the storm passes through north. Taking a look at this storm, and look at the size of this thing. Good grief. If this thing develops a pressure anywhere near what Dorian have, I mean, this will be a high alert storm here. We're going to continue to monitor this one as well this week, folks. So that's one thing to watch for. Now, we talked about this the other night too. Prairies, temperatures will plummet. Freezing air, snowfall will move in once again. Cold air flooding down from the north. Incoming Pacific moisture will create the chance of snow largely for Alberta during the first half of this week. While this snowfall event will not be as significant as the previous week, higher elevation areas could see between 20 and 30 centimeters, and Calgary could see between 5 to 10 centimeters. And below is the details and the timing. We see pretty mild conditions on Monday, but as we go through the week into Tuesday, temperatures start to decline, as well as conditions and below freezing temperatures by late Tuesday. And here's what they're thinking as far as the snowfall here, Monday through Tuesday. Again, this is a 10 to 20 centimeter event in the upper elevations and about a 5 to 10 centimeters in the lower elevations here in Alberta, some parts as well of British Columbia. Manitoba and Saskatchewan also in on the mix for some winter-like conditions later this week as well. And then as we move into midweek here, Monday PM through Friday, we are also talking about this same system bringing snow spilling into the United States as well. It says here, snow, gusty winds, and plummeting temperatures will accompany a new storm poised to blast a large area from the Rockies to the High Plains winter-like weather this week. As of Monday, more than 24 winter storm watches and warnings were issued across parts of Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. The latest storm is expected to unleash less snow when compared to the one we just had in Montana with 4 feet in September. However, the upcoming snowstorm will have much broader reach and pose a wide array of hazards. Disruptions to travel and daily routines are likely. Cold air plunging with the storm will allow the snow to accumulate and travel to become slippery, not only in the highest elevations, but also in the valleys. Now listen to this. Temperatures can plunge by 30 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit in the span of 12 to 24 hours. Billings, Montana is expected to have a high of near 70 on Tuesday before temperatures plummet into the 20s by Wednesday morning. Part of the grand solar minimum, the MO of a grand solar minimum, is drastic temperature swings. 40 to 60 degrees temperature swings in a 24-hour period is common during grand solar minimums, according to ice cores. That's how we know. Again, folks, we use the science to get these conclusions. We don't use actors, musicians, and politicians to get the results. We use the actual science, and we take that information based off the science and the peer-reviewed papers, and this is what we report. It has nothing to do with a gut feeling or catching the latest story. This has all been proven. You look back at your history, the patterns are matching up, the correlations are matching up. Honestly, if you can't see that we're entering a grand solar minimum period, then you're not going to see it. And there's no hope for you, unfortunately. The blinders are on, they're not coming off. And that's fine. That doesn't bother me any. I tried. But don't spread disinformation. These people count on reports like this to stay up in the game. One leg ahead. That's the point of this, to be ahead of this. Not report as it happens, but stay in front of this. Keep it as, what should I say? Detain it. Contain it, I should say. Containing is adapting, knowing what's happening next, and not being unprepared when it does happen. So, let's go into our GFS Outlook, folks. By the way, if you haven't yet done it, we are doing this month, through the end of this month, a fundraiser. And we are selling new merchandise. We have beanie caps, baseball caps as well, snapbacks, coffee mugs, the latest designs on our beanies. Or if you just want to make a cash donation, we would actually appreciate it through our PayPal link. The Super Chats, we thank everyone who participated in the Super Chats last week when we announced this. But the Super Chats, actually, YouTube takes about 30 to 40% of those donations, whereas PayPal, it's a much smaller fee that's obtained from them. And also, it's helping us to reach the goal that we're looking at by the end of this month. Unfortunately, YouTube withholds any donations till the month after to receive the actual donation. So if you guys are going to donate, please, we encourage you to use our PayPal link or check out our hats, coffee mugs, t-shirts at our Teespring shop as well. 15% off GSM Love is the promo code. Or go ahead and sign up on Patreon, become a member for only $1 a month. You get access to the call-in show on Saturday nights. Plus, eventually, we're going to do a information dump on Patreon and start dumping information, videos, other things of interest of Grand Solar Minimum related to that channel, because we just don't know how much longer certain platforms will continue to allow us to even broadcast. I mean, after showing the IPCC scam and the Ponzi scheme that the elite is trying to run on folks, we've noticed a lot more censorship, and our channel continues to I feel like views are being withheld on this channel, honestly, and we know we have a lot of subs out there, and we get a lot of engagements, a lot of emails, a lot of folks staying active with us. So we feel as if you guys are doing a great job at help promoting the word. I just feel like our channel possibly is being censored on multiple platforms because the truth is out there. And again, with what we revealed with the IPCC scam, I get why they're lying so hard. I get why they go through the trouble they go through to keep this information concealed. Anyway, quick look at our weather. Let's go to Mike's weather page. Still have those two regions that I reported on this morning. Not much change from that. Still a 50%, oh, that actually went up a little bit, 50% chance. And this area here has a 30% chance of development within 30 days. Other than that, guys, we have nothing to talk about. Some weather advisories out in Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming. Other than that, you know, very, very minor. Pretty much. Quiet day. We need one of those. Except here in the Northeast. My goodness, it's been raining all day. I should rephrase that, because we have seen showers since early morning, and it doesn't appear to be anything stopping from happening anymore. Let's take a look at our GFS Outlook. There's that rain we're talking about. This river, this atmospheric river of rain through the Northeast, heads off to the east. There's this possible storm, the development we were talking about, that should happen, 30% chance within the next 5 days. We've seen forecasts that had this storm closer on the edge and almost formed like a nor'easter. Right now, that pattern is not being favored, which is good, because this GFS forecast is keeping the storm well off the coast. Maybe some light rain showers, but other than that, we could be dodging a bullet with that system. But check out this system behind it here in the Midwest. Good grief. Heavy rain in front of it, heavy snow and ice behind it. So the Dakotas, Minnesota, you guys are going to get your first snowstorm of the year this weekend, Thursday into Saturday. And this low pressure system is huge, dumping lots of snow in Minnesota from Friday, Saturday into Sunday before it trickles down. We could see upwards of 1 foot to 2 feet of snow in certain parts of Minnesota. That's going to be our next storm we're going to watch here at the Grand Solar Minimum. Trying to bring more colder air into the north after that storm gets through. And as you can see, by mid-month, you start seeing some of that colder air spill in from Canada as far south as the Ohio Valley by Wednesday, October 16th. And there's a chance, right? This system right here is still disorganized, and we're going to have to keep an eye on that one as well. Another, just depends on how this jet stream really forms up. A possibility of a potential nor'easter if this storm continues to track a little bit further to the west. So the tropics, again, not showing much as far as storm-wise, but it is feeding the moisture that we're getting here in the East Coast and the Northeast, for sure. So as of this moment, no major hurricanes on the horizon. You guys see a little bit of a disturbance in the Gulf, the very southern part, but it doesn't seem to do much with that opportunity. So a very rainy pattern after a couple of dry days. More snow for Montana late this week, more snow for Minnesota next week, and then by the 20th, we are looking at another major snowstorm in Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming, this time reaching all the way to Colorado as well. That's a massive system, and it almost looks like it's drawing moisture from the tropics. Look at this. This is all feeding up into this low pressure as it draws up into it. And again, another mysterious action in the jet stream. And you better believe it, solar wind has everything to do with these weird weather patterns. Left and right. All right, Mari, would you like to come over here and say hello to everybody in the chat as we get ready to take off? I'll go ahead and check out the UK. I know we got a lot of moisture coming that way as well. How you doing, Mari?
Hi, Jake.
Hello.
I'm doing okay. The puppy is making me tired.
Oh yeah.
The rattling. I let everyone know why the rattling.
Well, this morning I mentioned
naughty girl she is.
This morning I mentioned it sounded like there was a pack of, I don't know if you've listened to the broadcast, but I thought I had a pack of rhinos in the background during the show.
They are so much fun, but man, it's
a lot of work.
A lot of work.
Who needs babies when you're gonna have puppies, right?
I'm tired. Hello, everyone in the chat. We've had a few mods pop in. David Birch, we love you, the Starman. Cheryl, Matt, I just want to say hi to Jesse, Morgan, Richard. Jesse just put in the chat, he just heard his mom had 12 round bales stolen. And that was just under $1,000. How rotten is that? Someone's stealing like that. So
desperate times.
My suggestion is like bait one of the bales of hay with like one of those GPS modules that you can track, and just like confront the SOB.
Is that what we're going to be?
That's what I would do.
That's what we're resorting to, though.
Well, we have this wonderful technology. Why not nip it in the bud? Anyway, thank you for everyone participating in the chat. I didn't really take notes. I'm not used to taking afternoon live stream notes.
Well,
it's sort of interesting.
And Matt knows me well, but they're, you know, our shows are usually at 9 p.m. on Mondays. They will be at 9 p.m. Monday from here on out after today, but Matt understands why we had to move.
Let's just tell everyone why, Jake. You know,
rather not.
It's game day.
It's game day.
Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. I can't talk right now.
That's fine.
Have you noticed that? Like, it's just, gosh, it's Monday. It's not even 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Somebody has a case of the Mondays. That's what you're saying.
And
gotcha.
I actually have a very busy day of being a dance mom. This picture is Volcanic Ryoki. And I do want to thank Thor. I'm behind on emails. Our Thor from Maine, he sent us some pictures of a very hard frost. Everything was just covered in just a white, icy frost.
Oh, I think we shared that, didn't we?
He sent one, but this was way more. Way more frost. Wow. So I told people in the chat that I would go ahead and share that on Wednesday's next live show. Also, I have someone sent me a picture of their coffee mug sitting on their work truck to try to compete with Mel's picture of his sticker. So I want to share that. I've been meaning to do that and I just haven't. It's hard with it's like we're spinning sometimes trying to keep up with everything coming in with all the different social media accounts. So
and we appreciate the emails, so keep them coming.
I put the PayPal link in the chat, and I also put it in the comments as a pin section. If you can help out, that'd be awesome. We do have the Patreon. I really hope new people and more people call. Don't be scared. We don't bite. We want to hear from you. You don't have to be a farmer. You don't have to be a scientist. We want to hear what your concerns are, what you're doing, what questions you have. So please don't feel intimidated. Just participate, and you're not the only one that feels the way you do. There's so many people out there. We're all in the same boat, and it is nerve-wracking getting online and talking. Someone left a rude comment in the chat, and I challenged them to come on and call us. You know, it isn't easy, but be brave enough. We got a very loving, humble, supportive community, and we're all here to support one another and build each other up. So That's all I got, Jake.
Well, thank you, Mari, once again for helping keeping this show running. And thanks to you supporters out there. You guys are the ones that really are keeping this show running. We appreciate all the support that we get from all of you. And we'll continue to bring you the best grand solar minimum news that we can find out there and keep the truth coming. That's going to do it for us today, guys. Have a great day, and we will talk soon tomorrow morning with a morning solar update. Take care, guys.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.